Hey, what's up, y'all? It's BDT back here for BDT Sports. Really, really quick. For those of you who know, you'll know I love sports, and for years I did a sports show on WOKB radio with my guys, Brother Jarrell and the great Glenn. All good. The fellas don't have time to do the show right now. Life changes, and so I've been hesitating for a while as to whether or not I was going to do the show solo, and I've decided to go ahead and do the show solo. We're going to kick off in a couple of weeks. It'll be 10 a.m. on Fridays, and we'll have some interviews. We'll have some commentary. The show's called the Weekend Review and Weekend Preview. We're going to take the top 5 sports stories of the previous week and highlight and converse with you all about those. And then we're going to preview the top games of the weekend. And so since today kicks off college football, week 0 was last week, but today kicks off. Matter of fact, my Gators play Utah on tonight. And so go Gators, and we need all the prayer we can get. But I thought it was important for me to explain my fandom, because my fandom is very, very convoluted. And so you'll see me wearing different hats. And so just wanted to give you all just kind of the backstory of my fandom. And here it is. I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois. It's not St. Louis, Missouri. It's East St. Louis, Illinois. It's across the bridge from St. Louis, Missouri, but it's in Illinois. And when you grow up in East St. Louis, you kind of have a choice when it comes to professional teams. At least when I was growing up, when I was growing up, you had the baseball Cardinals and you had the football Cardinals in St. Louis, right across the bridge. If you wanted to lean towards your Illinois side, of course, you had the Chicago Bears, Chicago White Sox, Chicago Cubs. So growing up, I was a football Cardinal fan as a little boy and a baseball Cardinal fan as a little boy. And the Yankees were my American League team. Back in the 70s, I loved Reggie Jackson. In the 80s, Ricky Henderson and the whole nine. So that's how I became a Yankee fan. They were my American League team. But as I got older, to be honest, I didn't like the way that the Cardinals were treating their black stars, Ozzie Smith, Lonnie Smith, Lou Brock, the whole nine. And so just to be honest, when Mark McGuire was there, and I remember my boy Fred Duck called me from home and said they named Highway 70 Mark McGuire Freeway, and I was done with the Cardinals after that. When you've had Lou Brock and Ozzie Smith, and you've had Bob Gibson and all of that, and then you name one of the most popular freeways, I-70, Mark McGuire Freeway, I was done. So I became solely a Yankee fan. I got rid of all my Cardinal gear except my throwbacks, my Ozzie Smith, my Lou Brock, that type of thing. And so that's how I became a Yankee fan. So went to Bradley University. I got my hats like I'm choosing which school I'm gonna commit to. But I went to Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois. Bradley had a basketball team, but did not have a football team. Still doesn't have a football team. So I was a Bradley Brave fan. But that was my school, went to the games, all of that. But as a television fan, it was 2 things. I was a Georgetown fan while Patrick Ewing was there. But growing up in East St. Louis and television coming from St. Louis, for whatever reason, University of North Carolina basketball came on every weekend. And I remember the first time I saw J.R. Reed. They were interviewing. He was coming out of high school and he was going to UNC. And so that's how I became a UNC fan, just following them as a kid. It had nothing to do with Michael Jordan and none of that. Now, my son Donovan became a UNC fan because of Michael Jordan, but that's how I became a UNC fan. So let me get to college football. In 1984, it was the game against the University of Miami and Boston College Eagles, the whole Doug Flutie Hail Mary thing. And so I didn't really have a college football team because, once again, growing up in East St. Louis, you could either pull for Mizzou didn't really pull for Mizzou, or you could pull for U of I. And so I was supposed to go to University of Illinois. And when I didn't go to University of Illinois, I just kind of, what have you. So I'm a man without a team. I watched Miami lose to Boston College on that Hail Mary, Doug Flutie to Gerard Flalin. And so I watched Miami lose, but I'm watching the swag. Bernie Kosar was the quarterback. I'm watching the swag and all of that. And that day, on a loss, I became a Miami fan. I became a Miami fan that day on a loss. What's up, Kimani, man? You're doing such great things, and we commend you. So I became 1984. I became a University of my sitting in East St. Louis, St. Louis. I became a UM fan, and so it was Go Canes. That's how I became. So when I got to Florida in 1989, I was a Canes fan. I was a Canes fan. So when I got to Florida in 1989, I was a Canes fan in football. I was a UNC fan in basketball. That was my whole convoluted kind of situation. So that's what happened. Now, NBA, I'll get to NBA in a minute. Let me stay with college. So that's how I became. So in 2007, my oldest child, Destiny, got accepted to the University of Florida. Now it's time to change. Got accepted to University of Florida. And I'll never forget this day. It was a Saturday. I come out of my room with a University of Miami t-shirt on. I got a Canes t-shirt on. And my child says, Dad, it's time to get rid of that. It's time to put that up. We're not doing that anymore. We are Gators now. And from that day on, because my baby said so, I disconnected. I still, pulled from them. If they won, I was happy for them and that type of thing. But then I jumped all in the Gators. And of course, 2007, Swamp Kings, the Netflix, that's when we became Gator fans. That's when my daughter went to University of Florida in 2007. So I'm in the midst of all of the Tebow thing and all of that. As a matter of fact, we went to Tebow's senior day. I've got a picture. We're at that game and that type of thing. And so that's how I became and then a few years later, my son went to University of Florida. So when your kids and your money go to a school, you all in. So since 2007, I've been all in football, basketball, all things Gators, all things Gators. I'm probably a bigger Gator fan than my kids, and they went to the university. So that's how that happened. I'm a Gator fan. So now I'm still, pulling for UNC as long as they don't play the Gators. That's what we're doing. My son and I go to Final Four in 2009. That's when Carolina won the national championship, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is going to matter in a minute. Understanding as a Carolina basketball fan, that automatically meant that I hated Duke. That's going to matter in just a minute. That's going to matter. So I went from a Miami Hurricane fan to a Florida Gator fan out of relationship, because relationship is more important than, um, just arbitrary fandom. So that's how I became a Gator fan. And it's always go Gators. It's always go Gators. So that's how that happened. Then changing hats. Then let's go to the NBA. So 79 Magic beats Bird in NCAA championship. Michigan State, Indiana State. I become an Irvin Magic Johnson fan. Of course, when he gets drafted by the Lakers in that draft, now I'm a Laker fan. And I was a diehard Laker fan for over 25 years. I was a diehard Laker fan for over 25 years, all kind of Laker gear, blah, blah, blah. Magic is my guy. I moved to Florida in 1989. In 1989 is when Orlando got the Orlando Magic franchise. And so now it's home team. So I became an Orlando Magic fan. And here's why, because um I remember, I remember, I remember, a friend of mine asked me, what are some of your wishes? I said, listen, I want to see Magic play live. At that time I was in college in Peoria, Illinois. I had only been to one NBA game in my life, and that was really an ABA game with the um Spirit of St. Louis. A whole nother story. Anyway, so sitting in my dorm room in Peoria, I said, I want to see Magic play live. I want to see um, Patrick Ewing play live. He was at the Knicks at the time. I want to see, I said, I want to go to an NBA All-Star game, and I want to go to an NBA Finals. So Orlando getting the team the year that I arrived made all of that possible, made all of that possible. But I was divided. I was I was Magic as long as they weren't. I was the Orlando Magic as long as they weren't playing the Lakers. And so here I am. And then, I remember my son and I, we started off in old Amway Center, sitting in the nosebleeds, and life got better. We worked our way to season tickets on the floor and all of that. And so here I am pulling for the Magic unless they were playing the Lakers. Double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And so we go through that. And so I decide, then we have 2004 around, we have the Shaq Kobe breakup. I get upset about that. And so I said, you know what? I'm paying all this money for season tickets and all of that for the Magic. I need to be all in. So I gave away all my Lakers stuff. I stopped being a Laker fan back in 2004. And once I stopped, I stopped. One of my spiritual daughters called me, Dad, when they got LeBron. Dad, you gonna coming back now? No, I didn't leave the Lakers because they were losing. Matter of fact, I was with the Lakers when they were losing, when they had Eldon Campbell and Sedale Threet and Billy Thompson and all that. You're in a real Laker fan unless you go through the losing. So I went through that, but I gave it all up for my Orlando Magic, and now, ooh, it's rough being a diehard fan of this organization, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So that's that. Now it gets even more convoluted. Let's go to NFL. Had not had an NFL team for a long time. I was a Joe Montana fan, and so I was a 49er fan during Joe's days. And then after Joe retired or went to Kansas City, I didn't have a football team. I was for anybody who was playing Dallas. That's whoever was playing the Cowboys. That's who and so I appreciated certain players and certain coaches, but I didn't have a team. So 2000 2016 I get married. 2016 I get married. My wife is born and raised in Minnesota, diehard Vikings fans. So I didn't have a team, and now I've got a family of Vikings fans. So that's how I became a Vikings fan. So that's where we are with that. That's I'm a Vikings fan. That's where we are with that. And pray for us with Kirk Cousins and all of that kind of stuff. So that's the story of my fandom. Then it gets added to, and ultimately, when I put on my other hat, my preaching hat, I'm actually going to use this, how important relationship is. So remember, I have been a UNC basketball fan since I was a teenager. And as a UNC basketball fan, that means you can't stand Duke. I respected Duke and loved some of their players as I got older. So Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, I loved that particular group. Couldn't stand Bobby Hurley, couldn't stand Christian Laettner, Cherokee Parks, none of them. Couldn't stand any of them. Only tolerated Grant Hill because he went to the Pistons, and my family's in Detroit. And then ultimately he comes to the Magic, but hurts his ankle, gets butchered in surgery, all of that. So Uh, as a UNC fan, you don't like Duke. Two things happen with my son Preston. One, as a Gator fan, as a Gator fan, can't and I was a Miami fan first, then as a Gator fan, can't stand the Seminoles, can't stand Florida State, cannot stand the Seminoles. But Preston ends up going to Seminole High School, the Sanford Seminoles. So here I am for the last now 4 years saying go Noles. Fortunately, our colors are orange and black, not that godforsaken garnet and whatever that is. And so that's so. But and I told my son, I'm with you the whole way until they start playing that song and doing that chop. I ain't gonna be able to do that. I ain't gonna be able to do that. The Gator in me will not let me do that. So he's a star player, he's a great player, defensive tackle, defensive lineman. They're moving him all over the line this year. So he's got me in high school having to say go Noles. He's got me in high school having to say go Noles. He he had several Power Five offers. You won't go through the list of Power Five, several FBS offers, all of that. And so we end up loving the coaching staff and the atmosphere of all places at Duke University. So after despising Duke for most of my life, now my son is going to be playing for Duke University in the fall. So for those of you who've known me a long time, when you start seeing me with Duke merch on, it's because relationship is more important than arbitrary fandom. And so now, and when I'm in, I'm in. When I'm out, I'm out. So here is my week. Here is my week now. My Gators play Utah tonight. My Gators play Utah tonight. That's the relate. That's my two oldest. That's Destiny. That's Donovan. My Gators play Utah tonight. Go Gators. But then Monday, we go to Durham because P has been invited to come to the Duke Clemson game. And I can't stand Clemson. And so if we can upset Clemson in Durham on Monday, I will be a happy, happy, happy man. I know Johnny felt it's a lot of hats. That's why I wanted to jump on here. And as we get into football season, then in October, basketball season, I want everybody to understand that I am not shifty and flighty when it comes to my fandom. There is a reason for all of my fandom. I wish I was like some of you who were in a city or a state where you grew up in a city or a state where you were able to just pick all of your teams, top to bottom. But that wasn't my journey. That wasn't my journey. So those of you who have known me for a long time and you know I was a UNC fan, that type of thing, relationship is important. So tonight against Utah, my Gators, go Gators. And then Monday it's Durham. It's all about. So that's my fandom. So college, it's Florida and Duke. NBA, it's nobody but the Magic. All Magic. Gave away my Lakers. I think the only Laker jerseys I still have are I still have Kareem's, I still have a couple of Shaq jerseys, and I have a couple of Magic jerseys. I gave away my Kobe jerseys to Demetrius. I shouldn't have done that, but that's my dude. I gave them away years ago. Uh a decade ago almost. So college, Duke, Florida. NBA, Orlando Magic, NFL, Minnesota Vikings, and of course, I always pull for my alma mater in the Missouri Valley Conference. So that's my fandom. That's my fandom. So listen, that gets that out of the way. Here's where we're going to be in a couple of weeks. Um, the weekend review, the weekend preview will be on YouTube and Facebook Live at 10 a.m. on Friday mornings. Friday's my alleged off day, and Matt, and probably going to be simulcasting. I think they're making me simulcast on WOKBradio.com. So that's my fandom. That's where we are. That's where we are. Let's see. So yeah, Johnny Felton, a lot of hats, but that's the explanation. A lot of hats. Um, and yeah, Donald, wherever Caden goes, wherever Bud goes, I'm gonna follow him as well. So that's where we are. That's my fandom. Tune into the show, and we're on the weekend review. We're gonna take the top five, um, five of the top, maybe not be the top five, but five of the top sports stories of that particular week. If we were doing the show tomorrow, one of the top five would be Coco Gauff, because she's growing and she finally stood up for herself. And of course, her opponent is weeping and all of that. But yeah, so but show will start in a couple of weeks. Check me on Instagram at Derek Triplett, DerekTriplett, to get the full announcement. I've been hesitant for a while because I didn't know if I could carry a show by myself. We'll get some interviews and that type of thing. But I had two co-hosts when I was on WOKB with Sports View. But we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it. And so Gators tonight, Duke on Monday. Y'all holla at your boy. And yeah, let's have some fun with sports. Let's have some fun with sports. Holla at